Hi everyone! Today I'm going to show you how to make thong cookies or bum cookies. These are really fun for bachelorette parties, girls' night in party where everyone can decorate their own cookie, and with Valentine's Day coming up, they're a cute twist on the classic heart-shaped cookie. So to make the cookies themselves, I use a very simple sugar cookie recipe. To start, you're going to mix 1 cup of softened butter, that's 2 sticks, with 1 cup of sugar. We're going to mix the butter and sugar on a medium speed for about 3 minutes or until it's pale and smooth. Next, we are going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and 1 slightly beaten egg. Once the vanilla and egg are mixed together, add 1 tablespoon of milk. Now we are going to put the mixer on a low speed and add 3 cups of flour that has been mixed with 3/4 a teaspoon of baking powder. Add the flour and baking powder mixture spoonful by spoonful. Once all of the flour and baking powder is added, increase the speed just for 1 minute until all the dough comes together. Once that happens, scrape the bowl down and wrap the dough in a plastic wrap and put it in the fridge for at least 2 hours or overnight. Now that the dough has been chilled, I'm going to divide it in half and knead the dough just a little bit so I can roll it out. To keep the dough from sticking, I'm covering my counter and my rolling pin with powdered sugar. For the shape of these cookies, we are going to use a heart-shaped cookie cutter and just turn it upside down. I remember hearing that the heart shape actually comes from a woman bending over. I don't know how true that is, but this does help strengthen that argument. Once you've cut out all of your hearts, pull away the extra dough and remember to save it to use for more cookies. I've placed the cookies on a baking sheet with some parchment paper so they don't stick. And I'm going to use the straight end of my cookie cutter to cut off the tops and make them look more like bumps. Now my cookies are the right shape, but the problem is that if I put these directly into the oven, they would expand, and not in a good Sir Mix-a-Lot kind of way, but in an unrecognizable Jabba the Hutt blob kind of way. So to prevent that from happening, I'm going to put the tray of cookies into my freezer just for 8 minutes, which will shock the cookies into keeping their shape. While that batch is in the freezer, I'm going to cut out the rest of my cookie dough. Okay, now the cookies have been in the fridge for 8 minutes, so now I'm going to transfer them onto a room temperature baking sheet. I don't want to put the frozen baking sheet into the oven because the heat could make it bend. Bake them at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 8 to 10 minutes. Now an important thing to know about sugar cookies is to take them out of the oven just when the edges start to golden. I know they don't quite look done, but you want it that way because they will continue to cook for a few minutes on the baking sheet once you take them out. The cookies are done when they pull away cleanly from the baking sheet. While the cookies are cooling, I'm going to make the buttercream frosting. You can use icing, but I think buttercream tastes better since you're not putting that much on the cookies. To make the buttercream, take 3/4 a cup of softened butter, that's 1 stick and 4 tablespoons, and mix it for about 3 minutes until it's pale and smooth. After I scrape the butter down, I'm going to sift 3 cups of powdered sugar. Now it's important that it's sifted, otherwise the buttercream is not going to come out right. But we're not going to add all 3 cups of the powdered sugar at once. Instead, we're going to add 1.5 cups to the butter, and we're going to start on the lowest speed. Otherwise, it's going to be all over your counter and not in your bowl. So once the powdered sugar is incorporated into the butter, mix it onto a medium speed for 3 minutes. You're going to want to repeat this step with the rest of the powdered sugar, so that's another 1.5 cups, and beat for another 3 minutes. Once this is done, I'm going to put the mixer on a low speed and add 3 tablespoons of milk and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract into the buttercream. Then I'm going to mix the buttercream on high for another 3 minutes or until the buttercream is fluffy. Now that the buttercream is complete, I'm going to add color. You can make your thongs whatever color you want. I'm going to do 3 colors of blue, pink, and white. I'm using a food coloring gel to dye my buttercream, which is nice because you get a richer color and you don't have to add as much. But if you can't find that, the dyes that you find at the grocery store will work just fine. When I decorate, I usually use a piping bag like this with a small round piping tip, which work great. If you're not comfortable or familiar with a piping bag, I have a neat alternative for you, which is to use a squeeze bottle. I got these from a craft store. They're around $2 for 2 bottles, and they actually work just as well as a piping bag to decorate. Now take your piping bag or your squeeze bottle and fill them with your buttercream. If you're using a squeeze bottle, give it a little bit of a shake just to bring the buttercream down, and then you can test it out to make sure there's no air bubbles in it. Now to the fun part, the decorating. I have 18 little bums here and they are all ready for their thongs. And you can really decorate these however you want. Let your imagination go wild. Give them the cutest French lingerie that you wish you could afford. I will give you some examples of ways you can decorate these cookies. And the first is just a classic thong. So start near the top of the cookie and carry the line to the other side, remembering to dip down a little bit in the middle. Then take the line and carry it down to the middle of the cookie. To fill the space, add some buttercream lines and fill it in using a toothpick. Now, if you want to add something extra to these to make them look a little bit more fancy, you can pipe some half circles around the thong to give it lace. Here are a few more ideas on how to decorate your thong cookies. You can also add a little tattoo if you'd like. And something for Valentine's Day. So there they are, my completed thong cookies. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you have a ton of fun making these cheeky cookies.